I have the microphones boosted too, so hopefully you can hear me without anything,
Okay.
without
Is
it
this your
sounding
cam
too
bot?
distant. Yeah.
Got it. Nice.
Yeah, how does
Cool.
the voice sound? It should be coming across boosted.
Uh,
You got a good sound from me?
yeah.
Cool. All right, well, yeah, let me jump into the presentation here. Welcome to the preamble event of The Body Keeps the Score. Our intention to do a book review of the book with the same name. And just a little bit about the author, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. He happens to be one of the most modern leading researchers on the topic of trauma. And he's a huge advocate on like the long-term mental and physical health ramifications of having experienced trauma when it goes untreated. And he's had a lengthy career going all the way back to 1984 of a lot of firsts. So um, he may not be like a household name in the sense of those kind of celebrity talk show personalities, but if you ever dive into the field of psychology, you will definitely come across his work. Back in 1984, he launched the first clinical research center that was dedicated to the study of the effects of trauma on the civilian population. He was the first person to study SSRIs and how they impacted treatment of PTSD. So antidepressants and treatment of PTSD is something he led the field in. And also, one of the most interesting aspects of the book is he used neuroimaging to dive deeper into these ideas that trauma can change our physiology and even our brain. So he used MRIs and neuroimaging to sort of record the differences of people that have experienced extreme trauma and others that haven't, and how that changes the brain. And he's also the first person to, through research, link personality disorders and self-harm behaviors to trauma and neglect in early childhood. So this book, The Body Keeps the Score, it has like a 5-star rating on any of the book seller realtors that you go to. And it's constantly rated in like the top 10 books of like modern psychology in terms of impact that it's had on the field. And I thought I'd share a little bit of my personal connection to the book. I think in many cases when you start having questions, you go into adulthood and you start feeling like, why do I feel the way that I feel? Or, why do I have these kind of patterns and reactions to things? And you just start asking these questions. And you typically, will come across this book that'll have this really relatable content and story behind it. For some people, it might be like No Mud, No Lotus by Thich Nhat Hanh, or the Untethered Soul. These kind of foundational and transformative books. And for me, I had a counselor recommend The Body Keeps the Score, and it was the first time I read something where everything just came together for me, and it started making sense. Like, why do I feel the way that I feel? Why do I have these like repetitive decision making patterns? Why do I react to things the way uh, that I do? And it was because I was really like trying to go on this intellectual and cognitive journey into how my mind and my emotions worked, and I had no idea the connection to the body. And that's what this book really brought for me, and opened my mind, was that the body is a huge equation into how we feel and how we make decisions. And the fact that if we do have unreconciled old traumas going back as far as even into childhood, our body can keep bringing that feeling back, which then affects our emotions. And I had no idea about that process. I was always like, I can just think my way through this, having no idea of this kind of like cyclical process of the body keeping, bringing back these remembered traumas. So I learned that, you kind of struggle to think your way through what is ultimately a body problem if you have these unreconciled traumas. And, what's the objective of this event is I'm hoping we can create like a small community of peer-to-peer learning and exploration of the research that's presented in this book, on trauma by Dr. Basil van der Kolk. And, since trauma is sort of a sensitive topic, we wanted to introduce some norms or some rules around the event to, just make sure that we respect people's, sharing and their, what they ultimately might like to bring to the event. So we're asking that if you do commit to the event, to try to arrive, around the beginning of the event and plan to stay for the duration. We felt with the discussions that we're having here, it might be difficult to kind of come in the middle. And to also speak up if you need to pop out, because we want to check in on you and make sure that like something didn't come up where you're like, I'm like leaving VR in kind of a triggered state. We would rather know that like, oh, I just have to go get something to eat, pretty urgent, or so that way we can kind of check in on each other through this series. And confidentiality, we are going to stream to YouTube to kind of allow people to come in that can't attend in VR or can't get to their headset. But if there is something in the event that comes up that you would like cut out, just please communicate with me, and I can make sure we protect the confidentiality in that way. And I and you statement hygiene is also something we'd like to advocate too. Is when you're presenting commentary and there could be some back and forth, you don't want to use like you statements because it can feel very judgmental and sometimes cause a little bit of unintentional harm. So you always want to use the I statements, like I feel or I think what I heard, and it really helps further those kinds of discussions. And we'll have a raise hand tool in the environment as well. So, that way we can kind of prevent like any of those tennis match types of discussions that can pop up, and, go in like an orderly type of share. And, just wanted to make sure, that we all understand too that this is not therapy. Nobody here is a professional offering therapeutic closure to unreconciled traumas. It's not a replacement for therapy. We're just mental wellness enthusiasts that are looking to explore these topics together. And please, like, don't try to fix or offer advice to, some people can bring up some pretty personal things, and, we don't want to say, like, oh, I've dealt with that, because, they might be telling you about something that's been on their mind for 20 years for the very first time, and like, you don't really want to just say, like, oh, here's this, like, 2-sentence fix for that 20-year problem. So to keep each other, safe and moving forward, and to keep the event productive, we just have some rules in place. And finally, just if you are open to feedback and advice, just invite that in your statement and say, hey, by the way, I'm open to feedback or questions on what I've shared. And with that, what I hope we achieve is, from a community standpoint, a lot of us are very frequent attenders of different VR communities. Some of us even lead events. And what we're trying to do here is, with the knowledge of how trauma affects our emotions and our energy level, is how do we keep our cup full so that we can continually share our energy and our ideas and our support with our community members. Because I can speak from experience, when you have unreconciled traumas, it can really affect your energy levels, and when you're trying to share, you might be just offering an empty cup. And I'm also a little bit of a psychology geek. I enjoy the topic of psychology and the field and the new breakthroughs and research. And here's kind of like why I like the field so much is, mainly is because it's so new. Like, if you think about somebody famous from the field like a Sigmund Freud, who goes back to almost the beginning of the field itself, he died less than 100 years ago. And top concepts like Maslow's hierarchy, those are from as recent as 1943, just several decades back. Cognitive behavioral therapy, which if you've gone to counseling, you've probably been exposed to CBT as a treatment option for depression. And that's from the 1960s and 70s. So, around, some of us were just, born around that time. So, I mean, it's within our lifetimes. One of the newest research areas is on the vagus nerve, called polyvagal theory, studying the nervous system and how our brain is connected to our body, which is a lot of the foundational research that we're going to dive into in this book. And I really love the modern practicality of the psychological space too, like this statement. There's these common sense kind of colloquialisms popping up. This famous author, he said, before you diagnose yourself with depression or low self-esteem, first make sure that you are not, in fact, just surrounded by assholes. Which I think is just a really, really deep wisdom if you stop and think about it. And but yeah, this field is so new, especially when you compare it to other disciplines. The first psychologist is widely regarded as William Wundt, who died in 1920, so just a little bit over 100 years ago. If you compare that to the first accountant, that was in the 1400s when Luca Pacioli first kind of came out with the credit and the debit columns and in the way that we do it today. The first astronomer, Aristotle. Now we're going back to BC, also with Hippocrates, the very first doctor, going back to BC, and then one of the oldest, official disciplines in engineering. We got ancient Egypt with Imhotep. So, we're going back 4,000 years. So if you compare the field of psychology to that, it's like just a sliver on the timeline, everything that we've learned. And I like to think that psychology is kind of an evolution of philosophy as well. It's kind of like if you intertwined philosophy and science together. So I just find it endlessly interesting to dive into. And yeah, I just want to kind of present the way the event will ultimately work. Is we're going to do weekly meetups, 10 weeks, which will cover 2 chapters a week. Thought that was a really good pace in comparison to the length of time that we'll meet. So, just about 2.5 months going once a week, and we'll cover the whole book. The event's going to start out with about 20-ish minutes of like structured presentation, just to kind of rehash the topics that were within the 2 chapters. And I'm going to try to structure that material so that if you can't read the book or you've ran out of time or you just don't really want to read the book, you could still participate in the event, and that those topics will kind of cover some of the, summarize the materials in a way that's still meaningful and can allow the discussion to be really rich. Um, if you want to find the book, um, and is that a hand raise there, Cloud Dragon? I just want to check. Okay, yeah. Let me get you up on the screen here too, so we can see you out there. But yeah, you
So
got a
my
question?
battery's gonna die soon, and I just wanted to give this just sounds awesome, and I would love to be a part of it. Um, so that's one thing I wanted to mention. The other thing is I think you should put confidentiality first in the recommendations, because confidentiality is super duper important for establishing a safe space. And I was thinking something that would help in terms of having a sort of publicly streamed segment. You could also maybe have like a private segment, so that would like remove the work that you would need to do to edit out things that might be sensitive, or maybe people forget that you know, they forget to mention that, like, oh, this is might maybe something sensitive, because once people are getting to this kind of talking about things, um, things can just come out. And I think, yeah, in addition to confidentiality, the other thing that you should lead with is that this is not therapy. At being a group of mutual support is fantastic. But knowing that we're not talking to, therapists, we're trying to grow. So I guess what I'm coming back to is that maybe like the first half or 3/4 of the session is public, and the end maybe you have like a sort of, I don't know, let people run around for a minute and then come back together and have sort of like a private sharing time. I think that could make it easier for you as the facilitator, and also make it have a clearer break between public and private parts of this, because I really do think it's great that you want to stream this. And just speaking of the chronic pain group, I'm definitely going to recommend that everybody checks this out, because I've been wanting to read this book for ages, and this is like the perfect opportunity. So I just wanted to throw in that little bit, my 2 cents, as it were.
Oh, thank you so much for that feedback, because I think it generates a really good structure to the event. Like the first kind of structured part of the event can be streamed. And then when we get into the discussion, we cut the stream so that we just have kind of the private community discussion. Like that's a great idea, and I think we're definitely going to incorporate that. And
Awesome.
yeah, I love the norms, the rules that you keyed in on there. That I think, yeah, that let's bump those up in terms of importance because we
The
do
order
need
does
to.
matter.
Yeah, maybe we could offer before we cut the stream, like if anybody wants to contribute their comment like to the public stream, and then we'll cut it and go into a deeper, more private discussion. I love that idea.
Awesome. Happy to help.
and and thanks for the support too. I wasn't sure because like the event that I did last was like a TV show review with Star Trek, and I didn't know like if this was gonna resonate. But I'm so happy to hear that it really some others feel the same way.
For
Thanks
sure.
for letting me know.
No problem.
And yeah, before your battery dies, or if you need to pop out, just some recommendations on where to find the material too. This is such a popular and widely regarded book that most libraries have copies, so you could
Mm.
usually check it out at the local library. Book realtors also offer it, but I find it used on Facebook Marketplace and also eBay. If you want to pick up like a lot lower than retail copy and just have it delivered, or if you want to listen to it, it's also on Audible and Spotify. There are YouTube
Awesome.
links that you can listen to, but I don't know if it's really like above board or just on there. If you do go that route, I just say like in good faith, maybe make a donation to Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's like foundation. He still collects money to do research, and he's still continuing and impacting his work on the field. And with that, yeah, if it does sound interesting and you'd like to participate, please find me on Discord or Facebook or email me. Let me know of the interest. And I'd like to leave you with an inspirational quote, which is, if you cannot do great things, do small things in a great way, which I think is hopefully what we're trying to capture here in the spirit of this event.
I like that.
And with that, Cloud Dragon, let me show you the hand raise utility too, if you think it's
Okay.
interesting. So the image of the person raising their hand there is a button, and if you click it, it puts your name up on the board. Uh,
Oh yeah, I see
so
that.
that way, if you it's hard to hit. Yeah, there I see you now.
I'm
And we
just
also
messing
got
with it.
the Yeah, we also got the way to take it off too. So if you're like, I kind of changed my mind, you can
I like
clear
that
the
a lot.
board.
That's really cool. Nice. All right, I got the very low warning. Thank you very much, Scott. I'll check in with you later.
Absolutely, nice seeing you. Happy New
See ya.
Year.
Same to you.